Imagine standing in the corner of a completely ordinary garage, surrounded by the typical clutter of lawnmowers, dusty toolboxes, and a disorganized rack of plastic storage bins. To anyone else, it is just a mundane, slightly messy space. But with a simple step onto a specific, unmarked floor tile and a quick pull on a dummy PVC pipe, a heavy, seamless section of the concrete floor silently swings open to reveal a brightly lit, steel-reinforced stairwell leading underground. The best survival shelter in the world is utterly useless if everyone in the neighborhood knows exactly where to look for it. It has heavy steel vault doors, massive external padlocks. Invisible ventilation pipes do not actually say keep out to an intruder. They simply broadcast that you have something incredibly valuable hidden inside, making your property a primary target. True security is not about building a bigger wall. It is about ensuring that nobody ever realizes there is a wall there to begin with. This mindset shifts your entire strategy away from raw physical defense and moves it toward absolute psychological invisibility. Welcome back to the channel, where today we are diving deep into the tactical art of camouflage and exploring the DIY engineering required to completely vanish a bunker entrance into plain sight. Many people spend tens of thousands of dollars welding thick steel hatches and reinforcing subterranean walls, only to leave a glaringly obvious trail right to their doorstep. Leaving this trail makes you a prime target when things go sideways, which completely defeats the purpose of an emergency shelter. Over the next 20 minutes, we are going to fix that by breaking down the philosophy of security through obscurity. Our strategy utilizes a three-layer system that covers visual delusion, psychological deterrence, and seamless physical integration. We will start with simple weekend-friendly projects like false utility walls that exploit human laziness before moving on to advanced outdoor concealment. Next, we will move outdoors to show you how to hide a vertical shaft beneath active landscaping features without breaking your back. Finally, we will build a high-end flush-mount floor hatch that uses a hidden magnetic lock hidden right beneath standard flooring tiles. Whether you are working with a suburban basement or a remote wooded plot, you're about to learn how to make your survival space completely invisible to the untrained eye. But let us get hands-on right now and look at our very first build. We begin our deep dive into tactical concealment with indoor and suburban spaces, focusing primarily on basements, attached garages, and residential outbuildings. These are the specific areas where tight spatial constraints and frequent foot traffic require absolute discretion. The fundamental mistake most people make when attempting to hide a room inside a home is relying on pop culture tropes like the pivoting library bookshelf. This cliché is unfortunately the very first thing an experienced intruder or curious visitor will check if they suspect a hidden space exists. Instead, effective indoor camouflage relies on exploiting the concept of visual noise and human apathy by integrating the entrance into common household zones. You want to place your entry point into areas that people actively dislike looking at or interacting with on a daily basis. A prime example of this is the false utility wall, a DIY project that turns a necessary household eyesore into a perfect tactical mask. To build this effectively, you construct a false stud wall that sits slightly forward from the true foundation wall, where the bunker entrance is located. This minor structural gap ensures that the framing matches the existing layout perfectly without raising suspicion. Instead of drywalling this section normally, you face it with a combination of functional and non-functional utility components. You can easily mount a dummy electrical breaker panel, series of complex-looking PVC conduit pipes, and water filtration housing to the exterior surface. The human brain is naturally programmed to skip over utilitarian objects because they are perceived as boring and potentially hazardous. This mental shortcut means an intruder scanning a basement will look directly at a nest of electrical conduits and immediately move their gaze elsewhere. The trick to making this false wall operational lies entirely in the latching mechanism itself. This mechanism must be completely mechanical and integrated into the utilities themselves to avoid detection. For instance, you can run a standard PVC plumbing line down the wall with a heavy-duty ball valve handle attached at chest height. While the pipe appears to be part of the home's water main, turning the handle 90 degrees actually pulls a hidden mechanism. This movement engages a hidden steel cable tensioner behind the wall, releasing a heavy slam latch that allows the utility wall to swing inward. The false wall must hang on heavy-duty pivot hinges to accommodate the weight of the structure. The weight distribution must be precisely calculated so that the false wall does not drag against the floor. Dragging would leave telltale scratch marks over time and instantly give away your secret location. By using heavy-duty ball-bearing hinges rated for several hundred pounds, the entire assembly moves silently and effortlessly. This smooth physical motion maintains the perfect illusion of a solid, permanent foundation wall. Another highly effective suburban approach involves transforming a heavy, stationary garage workbench into a mobile concealment platform. In a typical residential garage, a massive workbench loaded with vices, grinders, and hundreds of pounds of tools is universally assumed to be a permanent fixture anchored to the floor. To turn this into a bunker entrance cover, you construct a custom steel-framed workbench. This custom frame features heavy-duty caster wheels concealed entirely within hollow legs or behind a low-profile metal skirt. When locked in place, the bench rests on threaded leveling feet that lift the wheels slightly off the ground. Lifting the rollers ensures the workbench remains rock-solid and immovable during normal daily shop use. However, by installing a hidden foot pedal or a concealed threaded rod system inside one of the drawers, you can quickly retract the leveling feet. Retracting these feet drops the workbench smoothly onto its internal rollers. The entire several hundred-pound workstation can then be rolled smoothly along recessed tracks embedded in the garage floor's concrete. Rolling the workbench away effortlessly exposes a flush-mounted subterranean hatch hidden underneath. This specific method is incredibly robust because it relies on heavy physical obstacles to deter discovery. Even if someone suspects a hidden space, the sheer physical effort required to move a fully loaded workbench without knowing the secret release mechanism acts as a massive deterrent. This ensures your entry point remains secure, functional, and entirely unsuspected by anyone who steps into your garage. Transitioning from the controlled environment of an interior room to the unpredictable wilderness of yards, gardens, and rural properties introduces entirely new environmental challenges. Out here, you are primarily dealing with exposure, shifting soil, and natural light variations that can easily expose poorly planned camouflage. Outdoor concealment requires a deliberate shift from hiding things behind household clutter to blending structures seamlessly into the natural topography of the land. To do this correctly, you must learn to utilize what designers call dead space. Dead space refers to areas of a property that naturally draw the eye away or seem too difficult to access. These are places like steep slopes, dense, thorny brush, or heavy rock formations. One of the most effective DIY methods for masking a vertical bunker shaft or a hillside root cellar entrance in these environments is the integration of a raised, active landscaping feature. This includes elements like a stone retaining wall or a multi-tiered garden bed. When viewed from the yard, a beautifully constructed stone retaining wall looks like an expensive piece of permanent masonry designed to hold back a hillside. This assumption makes it the last place anyone would look for a door. To achieve this illusion, a specific section of the stone wall is constructed as a lightweight, reinforced facade rather than solid masonry. You can build a rigid steel frame that matches the exact dimensions of the retaining wall section. Then, you apply a layer of high-density foam that is meticulously carved, textured, and painted with outdoor-grade concrete overlays to mimic the surrounding natural stone perfectly. To make it even more convincing, real dirt, moss, and creeping vines can be planted along the top edges. These plants hang down over the seams to obscure any hairline gaps where the panel meets the true stone wall. The engineering marvel of this system is the lift mechanism itself. A large panel covered in simulated stone and soil can easily weigh over 100 pounds. By integrating heavy-duty gas-charged struts, similar to those found on the rear hatch of an SUV, but scaled up for industrial use, the entire simulated stone panel can be counterbalanced perfectly. With the correct pressure rating on the struts, a simple tug on a hidden release wire concealed in a nearby bush allows the massive stone panel to lift upwards smoothly and automatically. This smooth lift reveals a clean, dry entrance to the subterranean vertical shaft below. For more expansive rural properties or heavily wooded plots, an alternative approach involves leaning heavily into the psychology of garbage and neglect. A pristine, heavily padlocked tool shed sitting in the woods screams to potential thieves that there is something inside worth stealing. Conversely, An old, dilapidated outhouse or a massive rotting firewood stack is universally ignored by passersby. Building a hollowed-out firewood stack is a classic but incredibly effective outdoor camouflage technique. You begin by constructing a rigid, weather-resistant box out of pressure-treated lumber directly over your bunker hatch. It is essential to ensure it has adequate drainage so rainwater does not pool around the seal. You then face the exterior of this box with real split logs, stacking them tightly and securing them with heavy outdoor adhesive and screws. This layout ensures they look like a perfectly ordinary cord of firewood that has been sitting seasoning for years. The top of the pile acts as a hinged lid, also covered in split logs, which lifts open on weather-sealed hinges to grant access to the hatch below. To anyone walking through the woods, it is just a mundane pile of wood. The pile remains completely devoid of any visual indicators that would hint at the engineering underneath. This simple setup provides a perfect layer of rural security for your property. As we elevate our strategy to the masterclass level of concealment, we leave behind basic disguises and enter the realm of precision mechanical engineering and seamless physical integration. Our primary objective here is to create a true ghost door that completely defies close inspection. This level of craftsmanship is essential for flush-mount floor hatches located in high-traffic residential areas like tiled kitchens, concrete utility rooms, or hardwood hallways. In these locations, any imperfection, uneven seam, or hollow sound would instantly betray the hidden installation. The absolute peak of this technique is the seamless concrete or tile overlay hatch, a build that requires meticulous planning and a steady hand. When installing a subterranean entrance in a concrete floor, the hatch frame must be recessed completely into the slab during the pouring or cutting phase. This deep recess ensures that the top edge sits perfectly flush with the subfloor. To mask the door, the hatch itself is constructed as a shallow steel tray rather than a flat plate. This tray design allows you to pour a layer of concrete or lay actual ceramic tile directly inside the door frame itself. The critical secret to making a tile hatch completely invisible is alignment. The grout lines of the surrounding room must run continuously across the surface of the hidden door without a single millimeter of deviation. The gap between the moving hatch door and the permanent floor must be exactly the same width as a standard grout line. Instead of filling this specific perimeter gap with hard grout, you use a color-matched, flexible silicone caulk. This flexible caulk mimics the appearance of grout, but allows the door to separate and open cleanly without cracking the surrounding floor. However, a perfectly hidden door is only half the battle. You also need a completely invisible way to lock and open it without leaving a visible keyhole or handle. This security is achieved by implementing electronic magnetic locks paired with a hidden magnetic reed switch or a low-frequency radio. Frequency identification sensor buried beneath the flooring material. A high-capacity 12-volt electromagnetic lock is mounted to the underside of the frame, holding the heavy steel hatch shut with thousands of pounds of retaining force, as massive pressure makes it physically impossible to pry open from above. To activate the release, you use a strong neodymium magnet disguised as a common household object. This can easily be a heavy coaster or a brass paperweight left out in the room. When this magnet is placed on a very specific unmarked tile on the floor, it triggers the magnetic reed switch hidden inside the subfloor directly beneath that spot. Triggering the switch cuts power to the electromagnet and allows internal heavy-duty spring plungers to pop the hatch door up a few inches so it can be lifted. This step completely eliminates the need for external keyholes. It ensures that even if an intruder stands directly on top of your bunker entrance, there is absolutely no physical evidence to suggest a room lies beneath their feet. The final phase of achieving true mastery in bunker concealment involves understanding and mitigating the subtle, non-visual errors that commonly ruin even the most beautifully engineered hidden entrances over time. Paying attention to these issues ensures your setup remains flawlessly disguised for years to come. The first and most critical factor to manage is the concept of wear patterns and physical deformation, often referred to as the telltale seam. When you build a hidden hatch into a floor or a wall, that moving section will naturally interact with its environment differently than the solid, permanent structure surrounding it. For instance, if you have a hidden door in a high-traffic hallway, walking over it thousands of times will cause dust, dirt, and microscopic debris to settle deep into the perimeter gaps. This buildup creates a dark, distinct outline that highlights the shape of the door over time. To combat this, Your maintenance routine must include regular cleaning of the seals, and the choice of materials must account for friction. Avoiding materials that scuff, scratch, or polish uniquely when stepped on is vital for long-term invisibility. Furthermore, the human body is incredibly perceptive to changes in structural rigidity. If someone steps on your hidden floor hatch and notices that the floor feels slightly springy or makes a hollow, echoing sound compared to the solid concrete slab next to it, their suspicion will be instantly aroused. To prevent this auditory and tactile giveaway, the hatch tray must be heavily reinforced with internal steel ribbon. Must also be backfilled completely with dense materials to ensure it feels absolutely solid and resonates at the exact same acoustic frequency as the rest of the floor when walked upon. Another massive hurdle that many DIY builders overlook is environmental transfer, specifically relating to moisture, air pressure, and scent. Subterranean spaces are naturally cool, damp, and prone to developing a distinct, musty odor that is instantly recognizable to anyone entering a room. If your bunker hatch does not feature a flawless, airtight rubber gasket seal, the natural air pressure differentials between the underground shelter and the upper house will cause that cool, musty air to constantly vent upward through the tiny gaps around the door. Not only can a human easily smell this sudden change in air quality, but a domestic animal or a trained security dog will be drawn directly to the scent leak, completely compromising your location. Installing automotive-grade neoprene bulb seals around the entire perimeter of the hatch frame ensures a perfect pressure seal. This seal prevents scent leaks and keeps moisture from creeping up and warping the edges of your disguise. Finally, you must always factor in operational safety and emergency egress. A hidden entrance is a strategic asset, but it can quickly become a deadly trap if it is your only way out. Every well-designed bunker requires a secondary, completely independent escape route. This exit must be just as heavily camouflaged as the primary entrance, but engineered to open from the inside out. This independent design ensures that if your main hatch is ever compromised, blocked by debris during a collapse, or parked over by an intruder's vehicle, you still maintain a secure, invisible path to safety. This completes your comprehensive approach to tactical DIY camouflage. Ultimately, mastering the art of tactical camouflage comes down to thinking several steps ahead of anyone who might look for your space. By shifting your mindset from raw physical defense to absolute psychological invisibility, you turn your property itself into the ultimate security asset. Whether you decide to start small this weekend by building a false utility wall that exploits human laziness, head outdoors to blend a heavy trapdoor into your active landscaping, go full engineering mode with a seamless, magnetically locked floor tile hatch. The key is execution and attention to detail. Every flush seam, silenced hinge, and hidden latch is an investment in absolute peace of mind, ensuring that what you have built stays entirely your secret. Which of these designs would work best for your specific setup, or do you have a unique camouflage idea of your own? Drop your thoughts and engineering questions in the comments below, because I read through them to see what builds we should tackle next. If you want to make sure your hidden space is actually safe, functional, and breathable once you are inside, make sure to click on the DIY ventilation guide on your screen right now to avoid the most common structural mistakes. Thank you for watching. Stay safe, keep building, and I will see you in the next video.